We want to be able to get into your story on how you've been able to build this empire.
Sure, Eve. Thanks so much for having me here, by the way. It's great. So, I mean, look, I want to start with the year that I thought about potentially studying migration law. So this is going back, even 2012. That's when I started thinking about migration law, because I was actually working for the corporate environment, and I realized the corporate environment is quite capped in terms of my capabilities and where you can reach in life. So it was very apparent for me that the corporate politics and there's a lot goes out in the corporate environment, and then I realized, okay, there's a potentials that we have is always going to be capped in this environment. So I started looking at some opportunity outside of the corporate world, which means potentially starting my own business. So as I was thinking about what will be the better, suited business for my personality type, and I keep saying it's more about identifying your strength. So I think being a people person, I think I'll be better suited with the service industry. And that's when the whole ideas started coming into play.
Okay, so that's when the idea started. Let's take it back even more. Where are you from?
I'm from Nepal, little country sandwiched between India and China. From Kathmandu, which is the capital city of Nepal. My grandfather, my father, all raised in Kathmandu, so we have never left the capital city of Kathmandu. And I finished my high school, and my dad was the biggest fan of Australia, and he's been here before, so he was like, you got to go to Australia and experience Australian lifestyle and the culture.
You have that gift, you have that talent, and that gift and talent needs to be seen, it needs to be heard. Your downfalls, your amazing moments, your business needs to reach more people. That is what we do here at the Rabasha Family Podcast. So for a select few, we can have you as a guest on our show. For me as the host to ask you questions about what you do. This is a skill, creating this content, being able to film, produce it. It is a valuable skill that we have learned, and we want to utilize that to help as many people as possible. So you'd have me as your host, ask you questions, get to know you and your business and how to build up your personal brand. We're then able to market and repurpose content from the podcast on all platforms, including your network. So if you really want to be in touch, if you want to be a guest on our show and be able to use marketing material from this valuable podcast, from your valuable story out to more people, we have that available.
And I think, that's all it started. So I came to Australia, end of 2004, and then started my journey.
So how old were you?
I was 19 when I first came here. Yeah.
Brothers and sisters?
I've got one sister. She was in Singapore at that time. She was studying because my grandfather served as a Singapore Army. So she was actually studying in Singapore when I was in Australia, and later she joined me in Australia. So she's in Australia now.
Yeah. And how was life in Nepal, like growing up? So from the ages of even 1 to 10, what was life like?
Well, I think being a developing country, or even underdeveloped country, I think the facilities that is provided by the country itself is quite low. But again, we were privileged to have a family or born in a family that were able to provide us with all the facilities in our home, and then also provide us with the right education, because my mum and dad was the biggest believer of education. So they want to make sure that their children get the right education from the beginning. So even our schoolings were probably one of the best ones in Nepal, and we went to did the our higher education after the high school in Nepal, and then for further higher education they believe Australia would be the right destination for better education. So that's when they decided to send me here. So in terms of my lifestyle, when I was a kid, I wouldn't say I was too deprived from the world. I still have all the facilities, like being able to access internet when I was a kid, or having room size computer at home was a privilege. But I guess I was born and raised by the family who believes on values and principles and integrity, and making sure you're always looking out for each other. We were never spoiled as such in terms of all that privilege we received. We took that as the opportunity rather than we took that as an adversarial for our future career.
When you look at your parents, what was their relationship like?
My father was more of an outdoor person, so he was growing up, he was never home. So he was into a movie industry. So he was always into, shooting a movie, or he's always out and about. So mainly we grew up with mum. So mum was the one who's taking care of, our day-to-day hustle, and then making sure that we are, ready for the school. If there's, she's the one making sure that our tiffin was packed up so that we have lunch, at school, and making sure she's, making sure that we do our homeworks and everything like that. So yeah, growing up the father was more of an outdoor cat, and then mum was more of someone who's taking care of our household stuff and looking after us. So, but then I think their relationship was great, because I think they understood their responsibilities, and they've sort of divided that, household chores between them, and I think they did a fantastic job.
Yeah. So that's also interesting. And you said it was a very traditional household,
Yes.
How was it, your dad's always your hero. Was that hard for you, not spending as much time with him because he's out working quite a lot?
Yeah, it was always, hard to compare yourself with someone else who's going out and about, on family vacations, and, going, for picnic and stuff like that with their entire family. But I didn't think we had that privilege, because Dad was more busy into, and if you look at the movie industry and film industry in developing countries, he has to probably go through a lot of challenges. So hence he was more occupied than, in a developed nation. But then again, I guess, yes, it was a bit hard to, not being able to get that privilege to spend a lot of time with father when I was little. But then I guess I've got more time now with him than more so when I was little.
Hey guys, I'm here at the headquarters of Pro Visa Services, where you can get first-class professional service. You see, life is all about the service that you provide other people. How can you obsess over other people's problems? How could you obsess in the finer details in order to achieve your dreams? As a first-generation African immigrant, know what it's like to live here in Australia. The beauty, the life, being able to see my loved ones every single day. And we know so many other people want to be able to share and cultivate that experience. Well, here at Pro Visa Services, you get just that, a family environment where you're able to make your dreams come true. Make sure to follow Pro Visa Services and the Rabasha Family Podcast. Okay, so you're 19 years of age, the idea comes up to go study in Australia. What's going through your mind, and talk us about that process?
Well, I was actually preparing myself to go to Japan, because I had my godfather is from Japan, so and he wanted me to come to Japan, and I was learning Japanese language, you believe it or not. And then I think as I was learning the language, it was a bit hard to learn that language, and also been able to go and study in the different language. And you've been studying English and Nepalese until like high school, and it's going to be very hard for you to actually absorb a new language and be able to adapt in Japan. So I was already a bit skeptical about going to Japan. So and I had my cousins and brothers who are living in Sydney, and they have spent some time in Australia. That moment, some of my family members from Australia was visiting Nepal, and we happened to be talking about, okay, why not Australia as opposed to Japan? And I think that's how the ball started rolling. And the initial days was more of a, what course or what subject you want to go and study. And I think being a science student, I did science in Nepal. But then, for the visa purpose, whatever that is, to come to Australia, someone made a recommendation to do an accounting subject. And I think I came here to do an accounting, which I terribly hated. And I had to change it like ASAP, because I couldn't stand that debit and credit in TAFE. Ultimate TAFE was the college that I first came into Australia. So not Ultimate TAFE, Petersham TAFE was the one college that I first landed in Australia. And I didn't like the course. I did manage to study, but then I didn't like the course at all, and I changed it. But again, that's.
If you really enjoyed this video, make sure to click here, and I'm sure you're gonna love that one.